Welcome to the credits video for Let's Play Dead Space. I'm BurningDogFace, and my god, that was a hell of a ride. Starting off the animators, that's an interesting choice. Oh, for the sake of Justin Jones, the last thing that happened in the closing cutscene was that Isaac looked off to the side and saw the corpse of Nicole sitting in the passenger seat before it lunged out at him. And I do mean corpse, it did not look like a necromorph. So it's not quite a happy ending. Isaac's still losing his mind, but hey, he's got his own journey to go on. Oh boy. Like, the respect and love that these developers had for the original game blows me away. I have never seen a remake that improves on the original in every conceivable way. It really does deserve all of the praise it was getting at the time it came out. Like, they even implemented the Dead Space field. In the original game, that was just lore, and nothing happened when the necromorphs walked next to the marker. But, it was different, though. I believe in the original game's lore, the Dead Space field is supposed to stop them dead in their tracks right at the edge of it, because if they stepped into it, they just dropped dead. In fact, it was believed by players at the time that the idea was that, you know, they would chase a human up next to the marker. They would leave the human alone as soon as they were standing next to the marker, and then they would stay there out of fear while the marker used its full concentration to get into their mind and mess with them. In terms of gameplay, yeah, it was less broken to just make them slow down. Oh, man. Once again, I will establish that it is a bummer that EA is not continuing with this series of remakes. But hey, look at that! They brought back Gunner Wright. They got to have him fulfill the sort of fill in the blank. You know, he went back and filled in the one area where he hadn't played Isaac Clarke, and I like that. Of course, they got Fred Tatasciore to voice some of the monsters. He's really good at screaming. Oh, that's funny. You know, there's additional voices, but they specifically list the Ishimura computer. And I appreciate that they're crediting all of the casts, even though we were only listening in English. To German now. But like every part of it, you know, Chen and Johnston were basically red shirts in the original. And you know, they made, but not only did they make Chen's death much more noticeable and dramatic, and then, you know, wrote in a story about the necromorph that he became specifically. You know, they even had Johnston's death be much more memorable by moving it to a different part of the story. Having her dying in the ship explosion. Ooh. The violins of tension do not like that they're about to go back in the closet. Oh, they credit the composer from Dead Space 2008. I like that. Just shout out to Motive Studio. You really outdid yourselves. Personally, I'm holding on to one little bit of hope, which is that, well, if EA really did want to do a remake of Dead Space 2, or a new sequel to this Dead Space, they would almost certainly want to go with the guys who knocked it out of the park the first time. But Motive Software are currently working on a game about Iron Man, as I understand it. So it's hypothetically possible that once the Iron Man game comes out, they might be able to turn their attentions back to Isaac. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Knocked on wood so hard that it shook my mouse and switched to keyboard controls. But, you know, this was amazing. Just, it was so action-y, but it was also fucking terrifying. Like, Alien Isolation was scary because I was helpless. This, I was a tough motherfucker, and I was terrified most of the time. And God, it was good to be able to stomp dead bodies as Isaac Clarke again. When in doubt, stomp it out. That's my advice if you guys play this game. But there's so many places they could go with this story. I'd really like to see the story get a proper conclusion, since Dead Space 3 ended off on 2 separate cliffhangers. One that got addressed by the DLC, and one that was raised by the DLC. Even the sound design stands out to me for being great, with the creepy ambient noises and the sparking computers and... Man. Hands down, almost goes without saying, I absolutely recommend this game if you are at all interested in, like, horror action games. Like, that is the only reason I can think of. That you don't like... I wouldn't recommend playing this if you really hate horror games or being scared, or if you really, really can't stand gore, if you're one of those people. The lovingly crafted look of... I know how damaged that limb is by how many chunks I've taken off of it. For what it's worth, I believe after this, Isaac goes into a fugue state, where he can't, he's semi-lucid at times, but, he doesn't remember anything once the fugue state ends, about 3 years from now, just as Dead Space 2 is beginning. That was always my impression of that. He doesn't remember a goddamn thing that happened in between that hallucination at the end and waking up at the beginning of Dead Space 2. I would, again, absolutely recommend, if you liked this game and you're interested in checking out the originals, do it. It's a bit weird to go from the game in 2023 to the, uglier by now game from 2011. But EA could fix that problem with a little, I don't know, what's the word? Attention? Honestly, it's like I say, I don't even care if it's the remake of Isaac on the Sprawl in Dead Space 2. Like, just continue this storyline, man. It's a proper conclusion to the war against the necromorphs. Even if it is a grimdark universe, it would probably end poorly. I wonder how you get the nickname John from Yonut. It's an interesting story there. Or maybe he was tired of people pronouncing his name wrong. I knew a guy from India who liked people to call him Bill for that reason, because it's just impossible for white people to pronounce his name correctly, apparently. joking as he said it, but, And you can't call them the A-team. Not since the 80s, anyway. You know, there's even if they never come back to this franchise, I did have a good time with one last run around on the Ishimura. You know, with Isaac Clarke and the Necromorphs. But, you know, there's other stuff out there that I will be definitely checking out. At some point, I will certainly be doing a Let's Play of the Callisto Protocol. You know, there's an upcoming game that looks a hell of a lot like it was inspired by Dead Space called Chronos something. Man. I mean, if you think about it, the locational damage in the Resident Evil remakes could be said to be based on Dead Space, which was itself based on RE4. So yeah, this series still has influence in the horror action gaming scene. And the music is so good. They like perfectly nailed the sort of sound you would get in a sci-fi horror movie. I'm genuinely curious what it was like to be in the room while the orchestra was recording this, given how unsettling and weird it must have felt. Like, even for the people playing the music. I really like that they stayed that close to the original story, but there was still a whole bunch of shit in there that surprised the hell out of me. I still remember, I'd like to have seen the look on my face when I realized that the hunter was self-aware. Oh, that's loud. On the note of it being loud, I apologize if I'm being drowned out by the music, but hey. Live demo. I was not expecting this to take me until after Christmas when I started this a few days before Halloween. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It does feel good to get through this, though. This is a great game, and it deserves to have its story told. Shout out to Craig Thompson, Master Data Steward. I don't know why I picked that name. Well, it might have been that it was Craig with a K. I've never seen that before. What is that sound? Plus, hey, I learned things I either had completely forgotten or never knew in the first place, like the whole thing about the bodies converting by themselves. Yeah, that was probably in there. I do remember that thing with the two bodies, but I remember being confused as to what caused it. I don't remember them explicitly calling out that it was the marker doing it to them remotely. Shout out to Zed Lin, Group Creative Director and Design. Of Design, I guess. You can do it and you know it, says my Lawson Trapper, and after that, maybe I can. I saw Niall McDonough there as the data architect, and for a second I thought it was Neil McDonough, an actor. Although I guess he spells his without an I. N-E-A-L. Are they going to list the development babies for this game? Where they turn babies into monsters? I mean, to their credit, you never actually see any, like, infants being transformed. I feel like that might be a bit much. Well, I don't know if the marker is gone, but it's buried under a bajillion tons of rock. And at least with that rock falling down, I'm pretty sure the Hive Mind is dead. Honestly, I damaged so little of its overall body that I feel like that might have survived that, even if they were glowing weak points. I mean, the Leviathan did. Well, this time. I remember finding it so funny when I first started off that even after all these years, the first time I got rushed to the Necromorph when I had a plasma cutter, I just automatically went for the legs and then the arms. Muscle memory, man. Oh, hey, and shout out to whoever designed and modeled those stuffed animals. That was a nice touch. I wonder if there's going to be a post-credit scene. Against all odds, I mean, things didn't exactly go well. There were no survivors from the USG Ishimura. And for that matter, Isaac was the only survivor of the Kellion, and the Valor was also completely wiped out. Along with everyone who lived on the colony. So, yeah, this stuff is brutal. That's one outbreak, and it took down 3 ships and a colony. Oh, production babies. With thanks to the development team of the original Dead Space for inspiring us every step of the way. I would have written that as for every stomp of the way, but, you know, that's just me. Chapter 12 completed, 50,000 credits awarded, 10 power nodes awarded, text logs awarded, and Advanced Soldier Rig Level 6 suit unlocked. Your progress has been saved, and you have unlocked New Game Plus. Black screen. There we go, loading screen. Oh, in retrospect, it's weird that it still plays the Ishimura logo when I die on Aegis VII. What if I had continued? Does it give me those things now? No, it looks like the only one they added was, well, now I can play the suicide node.
Isaac, it's me.
I mean, I wouldn't, that's really dark, but, oh, yeah. Fair enough. Well. Oh, and I'm torn, because, if I do New Game Plus, I'll have to wait until I actually get to a store in order to, check out that suit. Lame. Alright. Isaac Clarke, it's been real. It's a baby doll. Great. It's been real. I'm glad to have caught up with you. I'm sorry about everything that happened. Don't worry, it will get better. Might not seem like that, but it will. I'm glad you came along with me on this journey, guys. Let me just finish off by reading out some of these comments that I didn't get to. Shout out to Justin Jones, who says that the colony's computer sounds just as creepy as the others did on the Ishimura and Valor. Can the markers be destroyed? If so, what actually happens? If they cannot be harmed or destroyed, what happens when the attempt is made? I'd really like to know that, now that you've pointed it out. I wonder if that's what the giant explosion was. Here's a disturbing thought. What if, after a certain point, the marker's influence becomes so strong that those affected by it see all other living things as necromorphs? And the fact that there are so many guardians in the generator room is kind of disturbing. The question is, why are there so many? And also, why in this particular area? And, about the marker's influence comment. I haven't played Dead Space Extraction, but my understanding is that the first thing that happens in the tutorial level is that you're playing as the specific miner who dug up who uncovered the marker. And that the moment you do, you turn around and see yourself surrounded by shadowy figures that are trying to kill you, and you have to defend yourself against them. And then more shadowy figures show up, but before you can take them down, they shoot you, even though they don't appear to have guns. And as your first character is bleeding out on the ground and dying, he sees the shadowy figures coalesce into PSEC security guards, who mention to each other that he's just slaughtered his entire dig team. It's possible. Oh, God. Shout out to Ragnarok1945, whose insight was very helpful in this playthrough, by the way. All of you were very helpful. I really appreciate every single comment, I gotta say. Even if I didn't read them out, I read every single one. With regards to the Unitologist writing on the colony and you wondering if they were smarter, it's likely that they had been exposed to the marker longer, hence why the writing is more detailed. The Dead Space Aftermath film made it clear that it was only after the discovery of the red marker on Aegis VII that CEC even sent the Ishimura there in the first place. And that had been somewhat delayed because the Church of Unitology made sure most of the crew would be Unitologists for the trip. Therefore, the Aegis VII colonists had been exposed to the marker for quite a while before the Ishimura even arrived, though Dead Space Extraction did make it clear that all hell only broke loose after the planet-cracking process began. Yornik has a comment about those bodies we saw shoved through windows and hanging from hooks. I never did get into that room. The peeps at Timestamp got somewhat infamous for making Isaac giggle, saying something like, "It's the last time I'm hooking up with someone online," or, "Hey, I'm not a piece of meat, I have feelings." And when Isaac asked them, "How's it hanging?" they just shrugged. "We're okay, but Dave got smashed something fierce." And then Dave, the guy hanging from the window, said, sounding really drunk, "I'm all right to drive. I swear to drunk, I am not God." I like that a lot. Oh boy. That will about do it. What happens if I actually select this? Does it? Yeah, it just comes up. Select a completed game. Well, it was the same armor suit that we saw the soldiers wearing, except Isaac gets to wear it. What I want to know is, if you beat the game on the highest difficulty, does it still unlock the, and I swear this is not a joke, the #1 foam hand thing, like you'd wear at a sporting event, which Isaac treats as a gun, has infinite ammo, and the only sound it makes is clearly Isaac himself going, "Bang!" or "Pow!" It's very silly. But it's time to call it. I'm BurningDogFace, and on behalf of myself, systems engineer Isaac Clarke, Zach Hammond, Aiden Chen, Haley Johnston, Terrence Kine, Jacob Temple, and then Elizabeth Cross, and you know what? Given the way it ended, let's throw an honorable mention to Kendra Daniels, and special posthumous thanks to the late Dr. Nicole Brennan, R.I.P. On behalf of all of us, I thank you for joining me for Let's Play Dead Space. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've enjoyed coming along the journey. I hope to see you if I ever get to do the remake of Dead Space 2, or hey, maybe Dead Space 4, fingers crossed. And more than that, I hope to see you in my next series. Till then, have yourselves a great day, Burning Dog fans. Later!